So let's talk about scrap fabrics and ideas of how to use these fabrics to create a more zero waste approach when upcycling. We're going to look at the technique of patchworking and also how to use even smaller scraps of fabric.
Hi, my name is Aisling and I'm a fashion designer based in Dublin, and today we're going to talk about a zero waste approach and using scrap fabric, which you kind of accumulate over time when you're making things. So here are some examples of designs that I have made using scrap fabrics. I think this is a beautiful way of using really small pieces of fabric to get beautiful results, which then you can either turn into one huge piece of fabric, or you can also use to add detail to a finished item. So what you're going to need is some scrap fabrics, all different sizes, it doesn't really matter. I would say that an important thing though is deciding on a colour theme or pattern theme and choosing fabrics that you think look well together. So first thing we're going to do is get a sharp scissors, and we're going to take each piece of fabric and basically cut it into rectangle or long strips. As we go, we're going to also save all the offcuts because I'll show you what to do with even smaller pieces of scrap fabrics. So I'm just going to go through all these fabrics that I've gathered and create strips, which I'm then going to use to make one big piece of fabric. If you don't have a fabric scissors, you can also use a domestic scissors. Just make sure it is nice and sharp. And then we're going to get an iron and we're going to iron everything nice and flat. I recommend a steam iron if you have one of them, just because the steam helps to get rid of all the creases. And here's an idea of what to do with all those smaller offcuts of scrap fabrics. One of the things my brand is known for is making bag charms, and I often use all these small offcuts of fabrics as wadding inside the charms. So yeah, the less waste you can produce, the better. So if you have an idea of to make a cushion maybe afterwards, hold on to all those smaller pieces of scrap fabric. Okay, so now we have all of our strips of fabric and I've just laid them out into the different colour stories. Don't worry about the size and length of the strips that you cut because we'll need different sizes for different parts of the design. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with a kind of a square piece in the middle. And here's an example of one I made before where we have this square in the middle. And basically we're going to just keep working out and adding strips of fabric on, and you just keep building along. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build the square out of these two pieces of fabric. If you have access to a sewing machine, this is the best way to do it, as otherwise I think hand stitching would just be very slow. It is possible, but it will just take a long time. So what you do is you face the front of both fabrics on each other, so the fronts are facing in, and then you sew along one edge using a straight stitch. And then after that we're going to turn it over and we're going to iron that seam flat. This is something you'll be doing as you go, as this keeps the finished design nice and flat and neat. And then again, we're just going to add another piece, and you can kind of cut the strips into what size works best for you, and then turn it over so it's front faces front on the inside, sew down and flatten out the seam with the iron again. And that's what that looks nice and finished. And then I'm going to add some orange check to the side, again just trimming it to size so that it fits well with what I've already done. Turn it over front facing front, and then sew down the edge. Ironing or pressing the seams as you go just is definitely the best thing to do. Don't leave it till the end because the piece of fabric will start to cross over and you won't get those kind of flat seams. So I've just been working away on this for a while, and as you can see, as you need to add fabrics over seams, just make sure the seam is flat as you go. You can see this kind of coming together now, and then I'm going to add more and more. If you wanted to build a whole piece of fabric that maybe you could use for a skirt or a bag, you'd have to just keep going and going. Or if you're just creating this to then cut a shape back out of the patchwork piece, this kind of size would do fine. But here is our finished result, and I think this is so cute. Imagine if you made this piece of fabric into a cute bag, or if you made a skirt, or you could even make trousers or shorts if you're a confident sewer. I also recommend having a look in some of your local charity shops to find any books on patchworking. These are pretty easy to pick up, and they have lots of kind of ideas and really kind of great techniques when it comes to patchworking. You could spend hours learning all of these different techniques as you advance along.
So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial all about what to do with your scrap fabrics. Best of luck to everyone with the competition and can't wait to see what you make. Bye!